Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Civil Liberties News. I want to talk to you guys today about what's going on in our prison system right now during this global pandemic. As we all know, we're short on all supplies, we're short on PPE, hand sanitizer, pretty much anything that could be used to help fight the virus that's going on right now. I don't think that it is a coincidence, and I have another video that will explain how right before this global pandemic hit America, they sold off a lot of our stockpiles of PPE to China. But I want to talk to you guys about what's going on right now in our prisons. Not only are our prisons overcrowded, overfilled, and filled with people who shouldn't even be there, nonviolent drug offense crimes, just non-violent crimes, period. Here's my thing. If your crime was such a low-level crime that they're going to put you in a prison that doesn't even have a fence around it, a lot of like real low security prisons are set up like that, what's the point in even being in prison? Well, the point is they can make money off of you while you're in prison. Before we talk about this though, and how it's affecting prisoners in our country right now, we need to go back in time to around 1865. I'm going to give you a little history lesson. For those of you that don't know about the 13th Amendment, slavery was abolished in America with the adoption of the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall be duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that when they abolished slavery, they needed to have a way that they could still have slaves. So they adopted the 13th Amendment. So now all they have to do is convict you of a crime, or accuse you of a crime, convict you of it, imprison you, and you've got slaves again, right? That's why our prison system disproportionately African American. This was no coincidence. These people knew what they were doing. They said, okay, you want to abolish slavery? We'll do that, but we're still going to have slaves. That is what prison today is nothing more than modern day slavery. If you don't have a family member that's in prison, or if you don't have any friends that have ever been in prison, you might not know that when you go to prison, you're going to have a job assigned to you. You're going to work. The prisons are ran by the prisoners. They do all the work. They do all the cooking, all the cleaning. The officers, or the COs, the correctional officers, they are there to watch over and to make sure everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not there to do the manual labor. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about the 13th Amendment, the history of slavery, how it was abolished, and how it's kind of just BS, really. They took one form of slavery, turned it into another, which is today's prison system. Let's take a look at what they're doing. The Washington Post released an article. It goes as follows. A recipe for disaster. American prison factories becoming incubators for coronavirus. I know here in Ohio, one of the counties that is basically a hot spot in the state is due to the prison population in that county, and it is rampant through the prison system. I don't have any family members in prison at this time, so I'm not sure if they didn't shut down visitation, or if not, then obviously it's the officers who are bringing it in. So the only way that it would get into the system. But here you see female prisoners working in a shop making goods, and none of them are wearing masks. And they're sitting pretty close to each other. You're not going to be able to help but to be in close proximity of another person while being incarcerated in prison or jail or any confinement situation. You're going to be around other people, and that's just how it is. And you're going to be in close quarters. Every morning around 7 a.m., a group of 36 inmates begin their contribution to the fight against the novel coronavirus, bottling citrus-scented hand sanitizer at the Albion Correctional Facility, a medium-security women's prison in New York State. For 7 hours inside a locked compound, they fill bottles and label them for distribution to emergency responders, hospital staff, and government workers. They don't get to use the hand sanitizer, the women say, only make it. They say they don't wear masks even though they sit across from another face to face. They've been told that if a spark were to ignite, the high alcohol content of of the sanitizer would lead to a fast, deadly fire. They say they fear that by making products to help other people be safer, they are more likely to get sick themselves. We also know that in prison, the level of health care that you receive is probably less than that of what your family pet would receive at the local veterinarian hospital. Your dogs and your cats probably get better medical treatment than people in prison do. When you're confined in prison or in jail, their number one go-to is, here's an ibuprofen, drink water. That's like the cure for everything. We know that it's not. That's their cure. We are given no choice. If we refuse to come into the factory, we are threatened with disciplinary action, said Sandra Brown, one of 5 women who described being compelled to work on the production line for $4 a day. $4 a day. And that's probably considered to be high pay in prison. Actually, it is considered to be high pay in prison. We do not have masks, nor do the staff or visitors. It's as if our lives don't even matter. Because they don't. It's sad, and it's not right. They are putting these people in a position to get really sick and die. With inconsistent access to soap and disinfectant and social distancing difficult to maintain, American prisons are becoming incubators for the coronavirus. This week, a single Ohio prison, now this is where I'm at, in Ohio, has become a top hotspot in the country. See, I knew it was a hotspot in our state. I didn't know it was considered a hotspot in the country. And I'm pretty sure they're referring to Marion County. 1,950 inmates, 78% of the prison population testing positive for the virus. That's crazy. As long as there have been prisons in the United States, prisoners have been made to work for low or no wages as part of their punishment. Under normal circumstances, about half of the nation's 1.5 million prisoners hold some kind of job, and a subset of those, about 63,000 inmates, work in what is known as prison industries, producing goods for outside customers, often government agencies. See, that's the other thing. Not only do the prisoners run the prison, as in they do all the work, all the manual labor that it takes to keep a prison running, but they also have these prison industries where they're basically factories inside prisons that they are forced to work in and produce goods to be sold for a profit. Now, you tell me that there is no correlation between the high amount of incarceration in the United States and prison factories, right? It's a no-brainer. I mean, where else are you gonna get free labor, basically? You know, I've heard people say that just because you're in prison doesn't mean that you don't have any rights. That's not true. When you get convicted of a crime and are sentenced to prison, all of your rights are stripped away from you. You have 0 rights. You have the right to do what you're told and work for either nothing or a few cents an hour. Other than that, you know, you can't vote. You have no rights. You know what I mean? You don't have the same constitutional rights as a free person. Is it right or wrong? This is my opinion. There are people who do deserve to be in prison, of course, you know, rapists, murderers, pedophiles. But when we're talking low-level crimes that, you know, people are being sentenced to prison for 5, 10, 15 years for selling drugs, you know, whatever, that's where I have a problem. Our prisons are overcrowded with very low-level crimes, and they're being subject to basically modern-day slavery. You know, if they're going to have these prisoners working, producing these goods, they could at least protect them. They could let them use the hand sanitizer, give them masks to wear, let them protect themselves. Don't send them into a freaking, you know, basically, they've already been punished for their crime. They're being punished for their crime by being in prison. They don't need to be punished again by getting this new virus that nobody has an immunity to, that's going to make them really sick and possibly take their life. You know, could you imagine going to prison for something like weed or something, you know, something of that nature, that it's not a violent crime and it's very low level, but you know, you're in prison, and then now you're forced to work in an industry inside the prison, and you contract the coronavirus and you die. You know, maybe you only had like a year or 18 months to do, and now your life is gone, all because they can't protect you or let you protect yourself. That's my problem with this. I'm going to leave a link to the Post, the Washington Post. I'm going to leave a link to the 13th Amendment, and I don't know, guys, you know, what do you think? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think this is right? Do you think that prisoners should be forced to work in these prison industries? Do you think that they should be given the proper PPE to protect themselves if they're going to be working? I would like to hear your comments down below. Please like the video, share it with your family and friends, and until next time, guys, stay safe. I'll see you in the next video.